How did Mr. German Man and I meet? That's what I'm going to tell you today. Hey everyone, I'm Donna and you're watching Wanted Adventure Living Abroad. This is Mr. German Man. His real name is Stefan. And we're married. But how did we meet? Here is that story now. And it all started in Prague. Oh, no, wait. Actually, technically, it all started in Florida. In 2008, I graduated from college in Florida, and there was just something pulling me to Europe. My heritage comes from the Czech Republic, which is why my name, for example, is spelled D-A-N-A, but it is pronounced Dana and not like the American Dana. So anyway, yeah, I felt this pull to go to Europe, so I decided to buy a one-way ticket to Prague in the Czech Republic. And so I left sunny Florida behind and moved to the Czech Republic. Okay, good. So now back to Prague. I arrived in Prague in October and my plan was, well, I didn't really have a plan. Like I said, I had felt some kind of internal push or pull to move to Prague, so I did. And I guess I thought that I would settle down here for a while, forever, maybe not. I really just did not know at that point. But I did know that I at least wanted to try to stay in Prague for the time being, and I knew that that would require getting a job that helped sponsor my longer stay visa. So after taking a TOEFL course for a month, just in case I should need it, I began my job search here in Prague. Eventually, I got a job working at a computer help desk call center. It was not my dream job, but it was a job. And even more importantly than that, with that job, I could get my longer stay visa, and the company was even going to help me do it. They began filing the paperwork, and eventually it was time for me to go to a Czech embassy or consulate outside of the Czech Republic to get the final visa put into my passport. They called me and told me to pack my bags because I was going to Munich. But you know what? I didn't really want to go to Munich. I had, after all, just visited Dresden a few weeks earlier, and I thought I really wanted to go to a country that I had never been to before. So I asked if maybe they could send me to Budapest or Vienna instead. But they said no. They had already started filing my paperwork in Munich. I had no choice. Munich it was. So at the beginning of February 2009, I showed up in Munich. The Czech consulate would need a few days to prepare everything in my passport, which meant that I needed to hand over my passport and wait in Munich alone at the beginning of February when it was cold and gray. Nah, I decided I had had enough cold and gray at that point. I figured I would just hang out in my hotel, chill in the lobby, sip warm hot chocolate by the fireplace, which for some reason I had it in my brain that there was for sure going to be a fireplace and hot chocolate at my hotel, and I would just laze away the week writing and reading books. My dreams of hot chocolate and lazing were very quickly shattered when I got to the hotel, which had been booked for me, and realized that it was really less a hotel as I had imagined, and more, well, basically just a room on top of a restaurant next to a gas station. No hot chocolate, and definitely no fireplace. So I put my things down and made my way into the city center to explore Munich. And I loved it. I was instantly relieved that I had not just stayed in my hotel, because Munich, I very quickly discovered, was such a sweet city, but I was still lonely. And so I thought it would be really nice to make a friend or at least find some other English speakers to hang out with in the city. Now where could I go in the city to meet some people who spoke English? It was right around that time that I stumbled upon an Irish pub. Unfortunately though, it was the middle of the afternoon and they wouldn't be open until later. But so, I vowed to go there that evening for dinner. I didn't have a map on me, and that was before I owned a smartphone, and I'm not usually so good with just finding my way around. Until then, I just sort of been wandering around the city, getting lost and finding myself again without any plan whatsoever. But for some reason, I made the decision that I really wanted to make it back to that particular pub for dinner. So I concentrated really hard with all my effort to try my best to remember where that pub was. That evening, I made it back to the pub at 6 p.m., which is pretty amazing, and I sat down at the bar. I met some pretty interesting people while I was there, but nobody that I would go on to become friends with. Prices in Munich were pretty expensive compared to Prague, so I very slowly ate one sandwich and drank one soda for 2 hours. I made them last for 2 hours before finally deciding to leave the pub at 8 p.m. I put on my jacket and my scarf and my hat, I paid the bill, and I headed for the door. But then, just before walking out, I decided to turn back around and scan over the bar one more time, which is when my eyes met those of a dashing young man across the room. He said something to me in German, which I didn't understand, but then he repeated it to me in English. "Would you like to have a seat?" I said yes, and the rest is history because that guy in the bar was Mr. German Man. So, from Florida to Prague to Munich. That is how I met my German husband. So my question for you is, how did you meet your partner? Or also, what about meeting a good friend of yours? I once met one of my friends on an airplane, which was also really cool. Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. And a really big thank you and shout out to my dad for holding the microphone in Prague. I know that my dad has been waiting for this video to come out. Thank you so much for helping out, Dad. That microphone certainly was not gonna hold itself, so thank you. And also a really big thank you so much to our patrons on Patreon who help make these videos possible. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to check out our Patreon page, you can find a link to that down in the description box below. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen. Spelled D-A-N-A, but is pronounced... I didn't really have a plan at this point.